What's up, my dudes? iRacing Motocross Game. So, this is what the new Motocross the Game is trying to be, is basically a iRacing version of Motocross gaming, a dirt bike iRacing game. This is their big pitch for the game. This is not their only pitch for the game. They're also claiming that it's going to be the best graphic motocross game to ever exist. They claim it's going to be the most realistic, hardcore, difficult simulator to ever exist. Okay. Got that Fantasyland shit going on a little bit. But in this video, we're just going to be digging in a little deeper into this specific iRacing element of it. Because I think a lot of you guys are excited about that aspect in a way. It's kind of got you thinking about what the game could be. I know a lot of you guys enjoy iRacing and you play it. Me personally, I never really got too deep into iRacing because of the, subscription-based, buy the cars, buy the tracks, pay more and more money. Like, I can understand if you're real deep into it, but I could just never get into it like that where I started paying all that money. It kind of steered me away from the game, no pun intended. And that's going to be something that we need to be looking out for with this Motocross the Game. How paid is this game really going to be? Yeah, I mean, I look at that in one sense as being a cool thing, but also it worries me a lot because I don't know how many moto gaming fans are going to continue to pay for every little aspect of the game unless it's just the, absolute end-all, be-all, best graphic, best physics, best gameplay. That's what it's basically going to have to be to keep people paying that kind of money for it in the motocross gaming community. Yeah, they have experience with, running a pro racing series like on MX bikes. And yeah, they have experience with making the tracks for MX bikes, but you start getting into making a whole entire new motocross simulator with an entirely new physics system and putting it on consoles and, making it like iRacing and all that. That's a whole nother animal, bro. That's a whole nother thing right there. And unless they have JLV, the literal creator of MX Simulator, on the development team. I ain't talking about JV, the MX Bikes track maker. I'm talking about JLV from MX Simulator, okay? If he's not on that development team, they're basically just taking a shot in the dark as far as trying to create a realistic simulator physics system motocross game. So we're going to see how that's going to turn out, but I think that's going to be the big difference maker. I think you'll have a lot of guys that'll try the game out. They'll, subscribe to it for a couple months to try it out. But the real, what this motocross the game is actually going to be able to succeed or not is if people really stick around with it. That's going to be the whole thing with it. And I'm just saying, if it doesn't have all those things like the gameplay elements and everything like that you're claiming the game's going to have, then people are just not going to stick around. Yeah, you've built up a lot of excitement here. You built up a lot of hype, which I feel like is going to turn around to bite you in the ass, okay? Which is going to get a lot of people to try the game. But as far as keeping them there, that's going to be the real test of time when it comes to Motocross the Game. So it's just funny to me how they're trying to make all these comparisons and draw all these parallels to iRacing like you would be able to have a motocross game that's the exact same thing as iRacing for cars. It's just not the same, bro. Let me give you an example here, okay? So, one of the biggest elements of iRacing is the fact that people have the steering wheel and the full setups and, you know, that whole 9 yards that they're actually controlling the game with. I hate to break it to some of y'all boys, but I don't think you're going to use a steering wheel on Motocross the Game, bro. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to have a handlebar controller in Motocross the Game. That would just be goofy as shit and wouldn't really make any sense. You see how it's just not the same? It's just not gonna be the same thing. Even if you try to make it sound like it's gonna be the same thing as iRacing for cars, it's just not. That's just sort of a tactic to try to make this appeal to a wider audience here, to try to pull some of these people that either play iRacing or they know about iRacing and try to make them think that there's all of a sudden an iRacing for motocross games, even though the game hasn't even been made yet, okay? Apparently they've been working on it for a year, but still no gameplay, no nothing to actually show you this game is really going to be anything. But the point I'm trying to make here is, when you really get down to the actual competitive esports, pro racing, amateur racing, working your way up through the ranks in a game, in a motocross game, that already exists. It's just a lot of people don't really know about it, you know? MX Simulator is still super underground. A lot of guys just don't really understand what the hell's going on with MX Simulator. They really don't, and it's sad to see. They'll take one little glance at the graphics and be like, what the fuck is that shit, dude? I'm not going to play that. Meanwhile, it still has pro racing, full-blown pro racing, amateur racing, novice series, classes, multiple, you know, aka ranks that you're going to have in the game with your different license that you would have in the game. You know, I'm talking like A, B, C, D, Z license, pro license. There is an entire esports ranking sort of system, even with MX Simulator. And it's actually a full-blown simulator, full-blown hardcore difficult simulator. There's other motocross games that already have all of that sort of iRacing type competitive esports, online racing, ranking through the classes and the, you know, all of that kind of stuff. They already have that. The only difference is it's not directly integrated into the game. That's really the only difference with it, okay? So what I mean by that is, you're not like clicking into the game and then going to some sort of a like ranked mode inside of the game and then, you know, going to a multiplayer race and ranking up like that. You know, it's not like that. It's more like you've got to come over here to this website and sign up and request a license and try to work your way up like that. I don't want some of you guys to get fooled by this, you know, like Motocross the Game and this iRacing thing with it, and the way that everything's being worded and sort of promoted and advertised. It's almost being advertised in a sense like no other motocross game has this. You know, no other motocross game has the things that Motocross the Game is trying to do or trying to be. You need to get into this. You need to support this because it's the only one that's doing this. That's just simply not true. They're doing it in a different way, but to say that no other motocross game is like a esports-based championship, working your way up through the ranks in a hardcore, realistic, full-blown, hyper-realistic motocross simulator. I mean, MX Simulator is that. That's the whole reason for the game, is to be competitive and it being very difficult, very skill-gapped, That is quite literally the whole reason for it. All right? And it still exists, and it's still going strong. So, but the difference is, MX Simulator tracks are free. MX Simulator's bikes are free. It's not a subscription-based game. You don't have to pay for any of that shit.